let me start by asking a question. How many of you want to be successful? Just raise your hands. Everybody looks like you're in the right place. How many of you know what it takes to be successful? Raise your hands. Okay, good. Few. So we will learn from the few who know the secret, and I will share my secret. All right. Let me, at the outset, be very clear. The views expressed here are that of my own. It's not out of the bank. I work in the bank. But this is my experience, having been an immigrant just like you that came here in 2002. So being in your shoes, I know the challenges, I know the pain. I'm hoping to share my experience of what I did to get to where I am. And still there's a long road ahead, but I'll share that. And happy for you all to ask me questions all through the presentation. It's going to be a two-way conversation, and we'll do the best we can to answer as many questions as we can. So when I came in 2002, I put my thoughts together, did my job search for a while, and then I realized that it probably needs three pieces of the puzzle to be successful here in a job or whatever it is. I captured it in a formula called I plus marketing tools plus plan is equal to success. What we'll cover today is bits of all three pieces. I'll go through it to the extent I can. And again, questions, everything you have, feel free to ask. Good to see you there. Okay, so that's the formula I believe is what you need to be successful. So let's start with the first one. The agenda is very simple. I'll talk about what the plan is, talk about the marketing tools, talk about the I, and finally leave it to Q&A, because I'm sure a lot of questions you'll have to ask. I'll be happy to answer them for you. So can someone tell me what a plan is?
The way to get from point A to B.
Very good, sir. You said way to get from point A to point B.
A map to future.
A map to future. So why is a plan important in the context that you're in? You're new to a country. Why is it important you need to have a plan? It's a roadmap. Very good. And why is it important to have a roadmap? Why do you need a roadmap?
Because in terms of reference, if somebody's been there before, that roadmap will tell you where to get to that place.
Very good. Your point, sir?
You need to be organized in order not to waste time.
So you're looking at having a map helps you with being efficient. Perfect. You also have to be effective. Keep that in mind. Yes?
So you won't get lost?
You won't get lost. Right. Okay. So all very good points. Yes?
You want to reach your goal, the goal that you set.
Very good. So you've got to have a goal first, and then you want to make a plan to make the goal work. Armando?
If you don't have a plan, I think you could end up anywhere.
Very true. And that anywhere may not be the place you want to be at. Yes, please.
It just triggered me. So I read this quotation, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Very good. Just like you make a plan, you also need to work your plan to be successful. So very good. So again, very simple. What's a plan? A formula, organized way in which you want to get your things done. And in your context, the plan is to be successful. Why is it important? Well, if you know where you want to go, you eventually will get there. Usefulness, you newcomers in transition. Now I want you to use the word between successes. All right? What do you tell people when they ask you, what are you doing now? Most of us say we are unemployed, correct? How does it sound? Yeah? So use the word looking for new opportunities to say you're between successes. You are successful in the country that you came from, correct?
Yes.
Right? You're good at what you do. You're going to be successful here at some point of time, now between those two success stories. It's a better way to position yourself than saying I'm unemployed. So I encourage you to use positive words for yourself and the people you interact with. Just tell people you're between successes. I'm going to share two kind of tools one I've kind of created with some thoughts, one that I've stolen from someone. Okay, their ideas and put it together. I'll share that with you because I believe that's important in the planning process. So before you start your plan, it's extremely important that you understand the context you work in. Because if you don't know the context, the environment, anyone from marketing here? Right? Okay, so when you sell your product, you first got to know what the customer wants, am I correct? That's when you design your product in a campaign. So same is the case here. Before you set your goals, your strategies, you've got to understand the context in which Canada operates. And this is how it operates. Very, very important. If you look at the pie chart here, 8% of the jobs are advertised. When you go on Monster, Workopolis, name the job boards, 8% of the jobs that exist in the economy are advertised. How many of you spend 90% of your time looking at job boards? All right, so you should be spending 8% of your time there, not 90% of your time. Second, 8% of the jobs are what the headhunters know. That's recruitment agencies of any kind, the executive search firm, agencies of any kind. 8%. How many of you spend a lot of your time going to these companies and telling them how to get a job? Spend little time there. If you look at it, most of it is created jobs and hidden jobs. Now what does that mean? And if you know, because some of you must have gone to a lot of these HRSTC centers that have trained you, or community organizations, so you probably have heard these words before, created jobs and hidden jobs. What are they? Yes, sir.
Create jobs as the company expands. The same job that is done by a person might become too much for him, so they get some other people to help, but they don't understand.
Good try, but not what I'm looking at here. Good try. Yes, ma'am.
Jobs that are within the company or the organization.
Yes, they are within the company and the organization, but when you say created, what does that mean?
The jobs that are filled through references.
Could be, that probably is more a hidden job
Hidden
market.
jobs.
Hidden job. So created job is this. Sorry? Someone said something. So created job is this. You're a talented professional, you've got the right knowledge, skills, expertise, and competencies. You interact with someone in the industry or the profession you're interested to work in. They meet with you. They do not have a job for you in the company. They don't want to lose you to someone else. Your precious resource, they want to use your experience and expertise. What they do is they create a job for you. It may not be a full-time permanent job. They may say, we have a project for you. You can work with us. Are you available for 2 months to work on this project? Then it may lead to a 6 months contract. And then that's a time where they're trying to work with you to understand you better. And then they'll position it later on as a full-time permanent job. Keep in mind, every company has what is called a complement. It's a budgeting process. So it depends on the time of the year you meet with them. Various businesses have a very different accounting cycle. For us, that we work in a bank, our accounting cycle is 1st November to October 31st. So anytime till that time, we can put you on a budget cycle for a full-time complement, a contract. We try to work with you in a creative job position. So what that means is, when you interact with people, always keep an open mind. They may offer you some kind of projects to work with. That may eventually lead to a full-time job. It takes time. It could take 1 or 2 years before it becomes a full-time permanent job. But it's giving you an opportunity to learn. It's giving them an opportunity to learn as well about you. It's a great way. A lot of jobs are created that way. 38% of the jobs. Let's be honest. If you meet someone who's good and competent, do you want to lose them? No. You want to keep them with you in your organization. We all know the value of people. So that is 38% of the job. The hidden job market, so like you mentioned, are those that happen when you meet people through references. It's not the advertised job, but these jobs exist in the market. Companies are not actively looking to fill these jobs, but if they come across a good person, they will hire them. So that's the hidden job market. Now that's the reality of how this marketplace works. If that is the reality of the marketplace, or if that's the way you operate in, you've got to put your energies to achieve success this way. And you achieve success in this way by spending very little time around the headhunting and the job boards. And I'm sure most of us spend most of our time looking at job boards and headhunting. I tell people, do that when the world sleeps. Because you can apply for a job at 11, 12 in the night, there's no problem. But during the day, the 9 to 5, I'm sure you've heard this, looking for a job is a full-time job. It's from 8:30 to 5 in the evening. You've got to put all your energy in meeting people. Networking and meeting people is the key to your success. The more people you know, the better you get at it. And people in sales and marketing are good at that. Anyone in sales and marketing here? You guys are natural networkers. You do that all the time. And you do that even when you have a job. Okay? While other professions, when we don't have a job, we stop networking. Okay? So continue doing that. So most of this will happen through networking and other ways, and we'll talk about some of them very soon. So now that you understand the context in which the country operates, the market operates, the labor market operates, now you've got to look at what you want to do. And that's where people said you put your plan together. First, you start with your goal. What is it I want to do? Do I want to be the Prime Minister of Canada one day? If that's the goal, you probably are not in the right country. Okay, it'll take you some time before you get there, okay? Okay? But whatever is your goal, set that very clearly. It's important to be realistic and practical about your goals. It could be a long-term goal. In 20 years, this is what I want to be known as. In the next 10 years, this is where I want to be. But realistically, the next 2 to 3 years, what is it I'm looking to be? Set those goals. The goal is a dream, becomes a goal, and action is taken towards it. And your goal is to be successful. So set those realistic goals. Have goal A, goal B. And there's no right or wrong goal. It's your goal, it's your desire. Once you have the goal, create a plan or a strategy to achieve it. And I'll show you a simple template I've created with the help of a friend of mine, in fact. Having a plan becomes important, like he said. It helps you be efficient. It also helps you be effective. Do you know the difference between being effective and efficient? Yes? Can someone articulate that for me? Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right thing. Okay? Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right thing. The key is you want to do the right thing and also do it properly. So make sure you set those strategies for you. And then finally, it's also important for you to assess your own competencies. What am I good at? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? What are my threats? And I was talking to someone some time ago in our booth. When you look at your competencies, look at what you have to offer. Position yourself as part of a, okay? So if you're telling me, this is what I can do, it's more appealing than telling me, well, I don't have Canadian experience. So if you're telling me you don't have Canadian experience, you're positioning yourself as part of a problem. If you tell me what you can do, you're positioning yourself as part of a solution. You see the difference between the two? So position yourself more as part of a solution than part of a problem. It's more a mindset you've got to develop. So know what your competencies are. And those competencies are what defines who you are. I'll give you an example of myself. When I look at what I'm good at, I'm a hopeless employee. So if you're looking at hiring someone as an employee, don't hire me. That's a reality. What I'm good at is this, and I know this very well, and that's my experience. I'm a person with average intelligence who can work with average people to produce extraordinary results. That's how I define myself. So which means I work best when I work with good, competent people in my team. By myself, I'm useless. Nothing wrong with it, but I know who I am. Can I work in a job alone? I cannot. Give me a team of 4 or 5 people who are brilliant, I can create them to be more brilliant people. I can get very good work, and that's my competence. We all have our own competence. It's important for you to know what your competence is, what you're good at. That will define who you are. It's a lot of reflection, a lot of thought, thinking deep into your behaviors, your traits, before you conclude who you are. But make sure you know your competencies first. Critical for your own success. Okay? Any questions so far from anyone? Yes, please.
To the previous slide, how is the hiring process in Scotiabank?
Well, the process is similar to most organizations. You post a job online, but 70% of our jobs are filled internally, 30% are filled externally. You go online, depends on the position, depends on the function. You could have a recruiter interview you, you could have hiring managers interview you. It could be 1, 2, or a series of them. It depends on the level you're at, the function you're at. So it could vary. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so now that you've got your thought process, you've created a strategy, here's a template that, a lady by the name put this together for me. Maybe a plan that you can use to work for your own situation. You're looking at June 2013, that's the time you're in. Pick 5 industries you're interested in. So you know the function you want to work in: accounting, finance, human resources, IT, marketing, sales, whatever it is. Pick 5 industries you want to work in. There are multiple books available, which will give you a list of good companies in Canada. In each industry, pick 5 companies. So you've got 25 companies now between 5. Okay? Right in the center, write what your competencies are, your skills, your characteristics, etc. So your competencies is where you put in there. What kind of roles do you want to work in? Is it a vice president, a director, a senior manager, or manager, or whatever it is? Write down the roles you want to work in. And finally, the location. Are you looking at the GTA, Ontario, you want to move to Alberta, wherever it is? Or you're mobile. Now this list of these 25 companies will change over time. It'll then you'll settle down to maybe a core of 5 or 10. And the reason I want you to start with 25 companies is at least you know that's your starting point. As you meet people in these companies, you may make a decision whether you want to meet with them or you don't want to meet with them, based on your experience you have. How many of you want to associate with people who you're not comfortable with? None of us. How many of you want to have a conversation with people you're comfortable with? All of us, correct? So as you're meeting these companies, we all have our own experience. There are no good or bad companies. There are companies that are good for you and not good for you. They're not good or bad. So you will meet companies and you'll meet people in these companies that you're comfortable with. They stay on that list. Some of them may recommend companies that are similar to them. You may add them to that list. You may drop someone off the list. But eventually you'll come up with maybe 10 or 15 companies. Those are the companies you're going to be spending your energy trying to network, trying to know more people in the company, getting to know more about their business and the function you want to be in. The more informed, the more well-equipped you are about a company and how they operate, the easier it is for you to position yourself as part of a solution, because you know them very well. The first thing when you meet someone and say, well, I'm interested in working with you, they'll ask you, what is it you know about us? The more insights, the more knowledge, the more understanding you have, works in 2 ways. One, you know for sure whether you want to work with that company. They also know you know enough about that, so it's easy for you to integrate quicker. It's a win-win in both ways. So do your homework, do your research about a company, not only on the internet, but by meeting people. When I was looking for a job 8 years ago, 9 years ago, some of the companies I applied for, I actually acted as a mystery shopper. So it's a retail company that I was interested in. They called me for an interview. I'd actually go and shop in their store to see how they treated me. I'd ask them silly questions that I'm looking for a t-shirt, I'm looking for whatever it is. And I would see how they would take me around to find the product. I'm capable to find the product myself. I pretended I didn't know how to find the product. I was looking at how they would treat me as a customer. Because if they don't treat their customer well, how would they treat me as an employee? And it's important for me to make that choice. Keep in mind, do not think you are in a position where you cannot accept jobs. You have a choice to make. You choose where you want to work or you do not want to work. But any employer said they were not interested in hiring me, my attitude was tough luck. It's their loss, not mine. I have something to offer them. If they've chosen not to hire me, good luck to them. They're losing something, not me. It's an important mindset. It's an attitude you've got to have. You are good at what you've done. That's why you've immigrated here. Do not think you're in a position wherein you're going to be anything different. Be confident about yourself. Have that positive attitude. So this is one way in which you would go about this. Now, once you've got this plan built in around these companies, you then have to evaluate your success on a regular basis. How do you do that? A friend of mine, Barry Bonds, actually suggested this to me, so I put it in this template. It's called the 3,000 points rule. The way it works is very simple. You've got to get 3,000 points every week for about 3 to 6 months, and the economy is good for you to land the kind of job you're looking for. this is one way for you to measure your success on a weekly basis. It takes a lot of hard work to get 3,000 points. I think to show you that. How many of you applied for a job on the internet? How long did it take you to apply for that job? 5 minutes? Did it take a lot of effort? No. So if you apply for a job on the internet, give yourself about 50 points, not more than that. Or 5, depends. If you're applying for 50 jobs on the internet, then give yourself 5 points. Phone call. How many of you have tried calling someone? And did you meet the person on the phone, sir? Or did you get their voice message? Voice message, right? And you, sir, did you get the person?
Actually, I've got the person on the phone and I'm gonna meet him tomorrow.
Congratulations, very successful. And you, ma'am, did you get? Okay. Most of the time when you call people, you get their voice message. So, if you get to them on the phone and you speak to them, give yourself 100 points. You speak to them live, not their voice message. Okay? You speak to them live, give yourself 100 points because it's a lot of effort.
Sorry, sir.
Yes,
I've
sir.
tried 4 times
Oh,
to talk to him in person.
very good. And the 5th time you were successful.
Yeah.
Very good. See, there you go.
You got more messages, you see?
Yeah. Persistence pays off.
Yeah, exactly.
Here are some tips on using the telephone. 1, call them at the end of the hour or the beginning of the hour. So we're at, let's say, 2 something now. Call them between 1:55 and 2:05. Those 10-minute windows, the time you should call people. You know why it works? They're probably ending a meeting and going to go into a meeting. So when you call them, they probably pick up the phone and say, yep, can I connect with you again? Sure, they'll give you a time very quickly and say, call us back. But at least you'll reach them live within that 10-minute window. Most people, no one starts a meeting at 2:05. You start at 2 o'clock, right? So you meet them just before they leave for a meeting, you can get them live. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. Second, leave your first message professional. Tell them you'll follow up in a week's time. If after 2 months no one has called you, or whatever is your tolerance, you'll leave your final message saying, thank you, Sujay. I've called you 5 times so far. Either you do not have the time or you're not interested in speaking to me, but I thank you for listening to my voice messages all the time. If you want to talk to me, here is my number. Okay? Now here's the reality. Probably Sujay has been busy the whole 2 months. He had good intentions to call you back, but he couldn't. But that fun message will kind of touch my emotion. I'll say, damn, I've got to call this person. 5 times, I've not been efficient. I'm going to pick up the phone. They will pick up the phone. But that's it. Whether it's 2 months or 3 months, you make that decision. Don't annoy them by calling them every day or 10 times a day. Once a week, once a 2 week is a follow-up, I think is professional enough. Beyond that, maybe pushing. Okay? So manage your phone manners very well. If, like you, sir, after 5 calls, you're able to meet that person, you give yourself 250 points. It's an informational meeting. Any website will give you information on how to conduct yourself in an informational meeting. Give yourself 250 points. If you finally meet someone for a job interview, it's 500 points. Do the math. 3,000 points every week for 3 to 6 months. In good days of the economy for you to land the job you're looking for. That's a lot of work. You should be averaging about 3 meetings a day. And to get 3 meetings a day, you've got to make those 5 or 10 calls before you get there. For you to get 250 points. I had a friend of mine who never spent a minute on a job board, never did anything but network meeting people. And I asked him, why is it you're not looking for a job through the internet? He said, Sujay, if there's a job that is suitable for me, someone in my network will call me or send me an email. That's how good your network should be. All right? So that's 3,000 points. You can imagine, like I said, looking for a job is a full-time job. That's the kind of hard work. You get up in the morning, you get fresh, you dress up professionally, and you work the phone to get all those meetings you want. Okay, working the phone is the key to success. All right. Any questions so far? So this is the planning phase I wanted to cover. We're going to move to the marketing phase now. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
How does it look when somebody goes in person for
you as to more information. If you don't have an appointment here, that will
Okay.
be.
Be easier.
Yeah, but they may be able to meet you as a customer, but to meet you, to guide you on a career or whatever it is you're looking for, they may not be able to take 30 minutes out of their time, because they have the targets to meet too, right? So if you make time or you ask for time in advance, then they'll be able to get that for you. Okay. Yes, sir.
So which people do you, it's best to call? Is it the HR recruitment personnel or specific people in a certain function that you're looking for?
Well, keep in mind, HR people, I work in HR, we just coordinate the process. Who's the one who makes the hiring decision? The person you want to work for. So you contact people in the profession that you're interested in.
Is it usually the head of the department or?
Whichever function, the head of the department, you work it from the bottom up. Company, if you want to meet a VP, how much do you know about the company? Meet someone more junior, let them introduce you to someone senior, and let them introduce you to someone senior. Your probability of success is better, right? If it's difficult to get an entry-level person to meet with your mid-level manager, it's going to be more difficult for you to get a VP to meet with you. But if you meet more people at entry levels, like the manager, senior manager, directors, you're getting to know more about the company and the function. When they present you to the VP, they've prepared you to meet the VP. Because when they're introducing you, they want to make sure they're setting themselves up for success as well, and you for success as well. Because it's your reputation at stake and their reputation at stake. But if I introduce you to someone in my team, not my VP or EVP, I'll make sure you're well prepared to meet with them. Why? Because I'm introducing you to them.
So you need connections with that to reach that person.
It takes time. It takes time. It takes time to build your network. Okay. Any other questions in the planning phase, please? Yes, sir.
Would the same etiquette as for phone calls, which you suggest, would it work for emails as well? Because most of the times we get email.
True. I would say similar. Yep. You got to be mindful and respectful. Be to the point. Tell them what you wanted from a meeting. What do you expect? Let them know you'll follow up in about 2 weeks or so if you don't hear back from them. If that's okay. Yeah. You got to be respectful in the same way. All right. I want to move now to the marketing piece. Anyone in sales and marketing here? Marketing? All right. The others are not in marketing? You're all in marketing. You're selling yourself. Okay? Not your soul. Okay? Now, how many of you have read marketing in school or whatever? You heard something called a brand? How many of you have thought of yourself as a brand? No? What's your name, sir? Maybe. Maybe what's your brand?
Iranian brand.
No. That's your ethnicity. All right? Your brand is maybe. Maybe is the brand. Maybe is up for sale to the highest bidder. Right? Okay, and that's the employer. Okay? Treat yourself as a brand. If you understand branding, there's something called equity on a brand. The brand's value goes up and up. Which is the most popular brand in the world? Coca-Cola, right? Well, why is it you buy Coca-Cola every time without thinking twice? Any Pepsi people here? Don't want to offend them. But the reason you brand is because that brand has built value over all these years. You trust that brand. The brand has done a lot of good things to create that value. Same is the case with you as a brand. So maybe as a brand, the more good things he does to himself, his brand is going to be more powerful. Employers will be chasing him to get a job, to work for them. And that's what you got to keep in mind. You got to build equity on your brand, and you do that in multiple ways. How do you build equity on your brand? How do you market yourself? What are the tools that you have at your disposal? Yes, ma'am.
Experience, education.
Very good.
Connections.
Good. Connections. Very good. Yes, sir.
Self-confidence.
Confidence. Very good. Very good tools. So these are some of the ways in which you can market yourself. I've got a few in my mind. I'm going to go through them very quickly. Most important, I want you to love your own brand. You're going to love your brand. You're going to be proud of who you are. You stand up anywhere, and you shake hands, you're going to be proud of who you are. Don't allow that to go away from you. Don't allow the fact you're a neutral country, you're being beaten every day by Canadian experience and everything else, make you go down. Be confident. You're between successes, remember that. Okay? Be proud of your brand. And your personal brand, you've got to manage that very well. Here are some ways in which you can market yourself. You know those voice messages that you leave behind? They have to be great. You've got to script them well, you've got to market it. There was one company I was doing a project in, I had to recruit someone, so I called this person. His voice message was very good, but it was not for me. The voice message was something like this. If you're hot and sexy, leave your name and message. If not, don't bother. So what did I do? I followed his instructions. I did not bother. Put the phone down. Didn't get called for interview because he was very clear in his message. I'm not hot and not sexy, so I just dropped the phone. All right? So what's important is when you leave messages with people, make sure the messages are professional and your own voice message on your cell phone or home phone, whatever you contact, make sure it has a professional message. And if people are going to call you there, better be professional. Right? So that's one way. Those meetings that we spoke about, be well prepared, be well groomed. Dress the part that you want to be. So if my goal here is to create an impression of a certain nature, am I doing that? You've got to be mindful of your brand when you connect with people. So be very prepared in the informational meeting, irrespective of the time of 30 minutes that you have offered to you. Know exactly what you want to ask them and stick to the point. If you want to talk more beyond that, great, but from your end, be very professional and respectful. We spoke about networking. Every networking opportunity you have when you meet with people. How many in this room? I think there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, about 40, 50, 60 people in this room today. That's a network you've already created if you don't realize that. What you have in common, you attended Winning Ways with Sujay. Right? So it's a network. You have a starting point for a conversation. So build your network. Every interaction there again is professional. Your cover letters and resumes again are your marketing tool. To me, is a secondary marketing tool. Voice message, info meeting, networking are a bigger marketing tool than a resume and a cover letter. People will ask you for your resume after they made up a decision they want to meet with you more seriously. So you think that's your entry to the door, that's the entry to the back door. Okay? When you do interviews, that's again a great opportunity for you to market. Remember, you may not get that job that you interviewed for, but if someone is impressed with you, they may refer you to someone else for a job within their own company or their own department. I know numerous instances where we've hired people. We hired A, B did not make it, but we actually recommended B for another job within the company and they got hired. Okay, so do not think if I've not done the job, I'm done. No, you probably have, if you made the right impression, you're the right kind of person the company is looking for, you will be hired. Don't forget when you meet with all the people to send either a thank you email or a thank you card. In very exceptional cases, I've also sent a book with the thank you card. Exceptional cases. Where I believe the conversation we had touched on a certain topic, and I think I found a book that was interesting. It's a $10, $15, $20 investment. You don't do it all the time. Okay? If you make that choice, an investment, keep in mind, you believe, well, I've got to put some money into this person. It's a $15, $20 book I'm buying because they've gone out of their way to help and guide me. Okay? It's only when they've gone out of their way to help and guide me. It's not a bribe. It's a recognition for the good work they've done. Okay, so it's a book, it's nice. And again, the right topic that you've spoken about. The right topic you've spoken about. Your business cards, how many of you have a business card with you? Okay. So make sure your business card has a telephone number and an email address and your name and your function you're looking for a job, and have it in a nice kind of pouch, so something like this at the least, rather than taking it out from your wallet. You take it out from a nice portfolio kind of a thing. So it's again branding, it looks very professional. Do that. If you have an opportunity, the beauty of this country is this, you get to volunteer in various roles, in various organizations. You can be on the board of a lot of small community organizations as a volunteer. You won't even imagine being on the board of directors of any company. But you can volunteer to be on the board of directors for a lot of companies, or you can volunteer in their organization with the skills you have to offer. Do that. It's a great way to give back to the community, and this country offers that opportunity. enjoy that volunteering. So these, in my view, are some ways you can market yourself. The core in today's world is social media. And if you have a LinkedIn profile, and if you have connected with people on LinkedIn, be mindful about what you post on Facebook, because maybe sometimes people just go and look at what is on Facebook. So make sure your pictures are a little more respectful there. Okay? But LinkedIn is a powerful tool today. Use that very carefully. Create a good brand presence on LinkedIn and use that to market yourself beyond your network. So these are some ways I believe you can market yourself. The list is never ending. Cold calls, telephones, meetings, whatever you can do. The key is this, in all of these interactions, you've got to be consistent in your behavior. I tell people this, and don't get me wrong when I say this. In life, you have a second chance in a lot of things. In education, a career, and whatever it is. But you probably will not have a second chance when it comes to your own personal brand. Once you break the reputation of your brand, it goes down south. You've got to be at your best behavior, in my view, even when you're half drunk in a pub. Okay, so even if you're half drunk, for those of you who drink, you've got to be mindful. You've got to be mindful of your brand there too, because you never know, right? So build your brand. Like I said, protect your brand very fiercely. Who owns your brand? You. Who can mess up that brand? Who can build that brand? Who's responsible for your brand? It's all about you. Okay? So do everything you can. That's your brand. Don't allow anyone to mess with it. And don't mess it yourself. Once it goes down, that value will go down. Or any further suggestions that people have? We're okay? Okay. Now, part of the branding process is the image that you create. Personal grooming is extremely important. So right from top, you have a designer haircut like me, right down to the bottom of your shoes. Make sure everything is well coordinated. You've got to be professional the way you conduct yourself and present yourself. Now, let's say if my goal was in front of you to be seen as one who's got a potential to be a clown in a circus. Am I dressed like a clown in a circus? Will you take me seriously as a clown for a circus job? Contrasting, correct? Right. So it's important for you to know what's the brand, what's the position, how you want to position yourself. You dress according to that role. And when you position and you speak about what you can do, again, you've got to keep that in mind in terms of messaging, because 1, 2, 3, 4 people have met me. They all should have a fairly consistent opinion about me. If the opinions about me are very different from each of them, and before them talk about Sujay and say, one says, he's a clown, he's stupid, he's crazy, he's eccentric, he may not be consistent. If everyone says I'm a clown, then it's good. Everyone says I'm intelligent, it's good. Everyone says I'm dull, it's good. It has to be consistent. Everyone should get that same opinion about you. And how you conduct yourself helps create that consistent opinion. Okay? So very often when you meet people, make sure you tell them your name, your profession, what you're looking for, your experience in education, and also see how you can help them. Offer your service and how you can help people. Just like people, you're asking someone to help you, you should also be willing to help them. What makes you think you're not in a position where you can help someone? At the least, you can help them get better in guiding people. You help them understand the culture that you have to offer and you come from. There's lots you can teach people about who you are, and they can learn from it. So always remember that there's something you have to give to someone as well, just when you're asking someone to help. Okay, just keep that in mind. Okay. I want you to look very carefully at this slide. How long do you think it takes people to have an impression about you? So I'm now moving to the I part of the formula. How long do you think it takes people to have an impression about you?
10 seconds.
Sorry? 10 seconds? Yeah, 10, 15 seconds, whatever it is. So really, what is it you can gauge about me in 10 seconds? You, sir, I want to shake hands with you. Sujay. So really, how much do you know about me in 10 seconds? You already created an impression about me. It takes 12 to 24 months to change that impression. So what have you seen about me or know about me in 10 seconds? How I look. Thank you. All right, anything else?
Very intelligent.
Thank you. You don't know that.
Yeah.
Not in 10 seconds. Right. Okay, you heard me for 40 minutes. Sorry? Polite, thank you. So maybe some mannerisms would have been observed in 10, 15 seconds.
You look enthusiastic.
Sorry? Go ahead.
You look into with a lot of enthusiasm.
Perfect, thank you. All right. So look at it. 55% is visual. So how do you look? Now you don't have to look very pretty, but you can look decent. Again, that's in your hands. How do you dress up? You don't have to have the most expensive suit or dress. You've got to have a dress that's clean and neat. Okay, so you make that choice. So visual is 55%. 38% is how you say, the tone of voice, the confidence with which you speak. 7% is what you say. Really, in 10 seconds, what do you say? Hi, that's about it. Right? How are you? So what you say doesn't matter because it's a very short time span. But how you present yourself and the way you speak is what creates an impression with people. So really, you've got 10 seconds to make that powerful impact. Remember, it takes about 12 to 24 months to change that opinion. It's a lot at stake. So here's an example. If any of you have done organizational behavior courses in your undergrad or graduate program, you would know. Look at it this way. Who you want to be and what people perceive you to be, if it's 100% match, it's great. The probability is 0, it'll never happen. Because we're all discovering ourselves every day. And if you found out something new about yourself in the last 1 week, oh, I never knew I would be someone like this, good, bad, or ugly. Right? So we all are discovering ourselves. There's a blind spot in us. You've heard of a model called the Johari window. There's a blind spot we all have, which means we do not know everything about ourselves. We discover ourselves in various situations, whether we're strong or not. But you want to be at least above 50% of who you are, and who you think you are, and how people perceive you to be. You want that moving up more to 75 or 80, ideally. The sooner the better. 85 is great. That's about it. You will get to 85. When that happens, you're confident, you're proud, people are perceiving you the right way. Go down the path below 50, then you're going to be seen as a very complex person because people have multiple opinions about you. There isn't a consistency. That means you may have challenges in your interpersonal skills, which is so very critical for success. How many of you think IQ is important for success? Raise your hands. How many of you think EQ is important for success? Raise your hands. How many of you think PQ is important for success? Raise your hand. All right, so how many of you don't understand the three terms I use? Raise your hand. Okay, IQ is intelligent quotient, EQ is emotional quotient, and PQ is people quotient. Okay, you need all three of these to be successful. You need some level of intelligence. You've got to be emotionally stable. Okay, you can't go postal, and you've got to have your PQ as well. All right? So you've got to have all three of them balanced, and it's important. And that will happen the more you're about 50%. 75, 80 is where you've got to be. All right? Okay, we're getting close to the end, I believe. I want to open it up to questions. Got 10 minutes to go before I conclude. Any questions that you'll want to bring up, please? Feel free. This is your time. Yes, sir.
You talked about first impression of visual and I think at recent learning here,
Yep.
I've seen
Excuse me, if you're a little silent when it speaks. Yeah, thank you.
I've seen people have suggested to professional people and consultants, they told me not to put your pictures on the CV. Back in my country, picture on your CV is essential.
Yep.
So some people go rather visual CVs also.
Very true.
So what is your take on that?
Oh, very good. They say in drone, do as the. So in the Canadian context, the concept of having a photograph on your resume is not acceptable. Okay, so we do it that way. Okay, so nothing wrong with
Any
it.
particular reason behind that?
Well, the belief is that probably people have chosen in the past to not call you for an interview because they've seen your picture and it looks very beautiful. So there have been grounds of discrimination that people chose not to call you because of that, so which is why they've said, let's get it out of the process. Yes, ma'am.
So follow up to that, how about on your online profiles, which sort of has that picture thing?
So LinkedIn is your personal space, right? So you can do what you want to do on LinkedIn or Facebook. So you can put your picture if you want to.
But like, what is, what is the Canadian standard on that?
Well, in LinkedIn, people do have their profile. That's accepted. Just like in Facebook, people have their profile. It is. But when you approach that in a professional work environment, you put in your resume, the acceptance is no photograph. Convention, norm, whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. Yes, ma'am.
And sorry, just as a follow-up to that, like I have a LinkedIn profile, I have a Facebook profile and all of that.
Yep.
Now those are of course open to the general public.
Yep.
And I'm not, like I have my email on there, but I'm not quite comfortable having like my home address on there.
Sure. That's fine.
So if that.
Email and telephone number are right. You've got to have either of them or both of them ideally. Some people are comfortable with just having the email. Some people don't want to have the telephone number. On LinkedIn, that's perfect. At least there's one medium of communication. Home address, definitely not, because where you live is none of my business. What's important to me is how can I reach you if I need to. So email. But something like if you're in Toronto or something, just saying Toronto is good enough, because if I'm looking for someone in Toronto and you live in the UK, then it wouldn't make sense to me. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Miguel. I would like a suggestion for you. They say that I applied to online to a social fund and I get a response rejecting my application. How do I get a feedback from you, from social fund or wherever? Who do I call to find out? I thought I was very good candidate. They said, that's
Sure.
this is
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are, Miguel. You know, on behalf of all employers, I must apologize. We don't communicate to every single candidate. What I want candidates to know is we receive hundreds and thousands of resumes, and recruiters are so strapped with work that it's practically not possible for them to communicate back. So which is why they do the electronic version. They'll just send a return email that says, thank you, we found you good, but not the right person you're looking for, whatever it is. Now, the only way you can get feedback, again, goes back to how the world operates here. It is, you've got to know people there. You've got to network yourself. Let's say, Miguel, which function are you working in?
IT.
IT, okay? So you applied for a job in IT, you didn't make it, say, in a company, whether it's Scotia Bank or whatever, it doesn't matter. So the key is, if you know people who work in that company, who work in IT, and that's on your network, you talk to them and ask them, say, I've applied for these jobs in IT, why is it not being called? What is it about my resume or my experience that's not working? And they will then look at it and say, oh, Miguel, we've got a lot of things here that work for us. We will introduce you to people that something will work, or they'll tell you that the kind of profile you have is not what you're looking for. So knowing people, human interaction is the best way you get feedback. Okay, technology and everything else is great, but it will not give you the answers you're looking for to all your questions. But good question.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
For example, I have over 20 year experience.
Yes, please.
And if I apply for example, I have for 10 years in the shipping, banking shipping, and 10 years in banking sector.
Okay.
If I apply for bank job, so I mention whole 20 years or specifically or for 10 years.
Very good question. In terms of your resume, what kind of timelines you're looking at? Most people like to know what you've done in the most recent 10 years. So beyond that, in the next 2 years, you want to be a director in the next 5 years. That's a career path and a function you've chosen to be in. So that's important for you to set. Which company, again, is it 1, 2, 3 companies you're looking at?
We can have multiple calls.
Yes, why not? Why not? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
What's most important to make impact? To have more experience or to have education in Canada?
Welcome, sir. Thank you. This may sound very odd. It's good to have an education here. It's good to have experience here. There's absolutely no alternative to both. I think what becomes more critical is when you interact with employers, do they see you as one who can work with them? That is the differentiator. I could have the best Canadian experience, I could have the best Canadian education, but that particular employer I'm dealing with, if I don't connect with them and they don't connect with me, I probably won't be working for them, even if I want to. The key is that that's the tipping point. That's what makes the difference. Do you fit in culturally into that company? It's an abstract concept, and each one knows whether you'll be a good fit in the company. Yes, please.
How can you transmit it through your resume?
Very difficult. It's not your resume. Your resume is basically a starting point. It's when you meet with people, they really get to know whether they want you'll be a good fit in the company or not.
Now, okay, LinkedIn, like 2-3 years ago, was easy. You got their full name.
Yep.
You were able to contact them. But
Yep.
now, since a business, they made it more difficult.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
Now to have access to, or either a phone number to make a cold calling, that's what gets really difficult.
That's right. And it's hard. I'm not saying it is easy. Like I said, the more people you meet and network, the easier it's going to get for you. The more people
Then
you
they have access to the other
That's
phone
right.
number, everything. Just go on the street and then be professional and try to.
Very true. There is opportunities. You volunteer somewhere, you will meet someone. You come to an event like this, you will meet someone. Every opportunity to interact with someone will give you a connection that you can leverage. Any other questions, please? Be a wonderful audience with a lot of questions. I'm going to count to 5. If no questions, I'm going to then do my conclusion. Yes, ma'am.
Is it understood by employers or by you guys networking that really important? I find it really uncomfortable to transition when necessary. I'm not able to get into it where I can actually introduce somebody and find out what they're looking for. So it's really complicated because everybody's talking about different things.
It's a very good question. How many of you are comfortable networking? How many of you think, well, the cultures I come from, or we come from, we don't network, so it's probably not acceptable for us to network here. While the Canadian culture, the professional work environment is comfortable with the concept of networking. It's an accepted norm that you will network, so it may not be something you're used to, but this is the norm and this is accepted practice. Again, in Rome, do as the Romans do. Yep. So don't feel uncomfortable. You can ask people, and they'll be able, keep in mind, they will spare some time to help you and guide you. Yes?
Just some of the questions that you can ask when you're networking, but you don't go out where they're not asking looking for a job.
Yeah, okay. So don't ask them what their bank balance is. Right? And don't ask them for money. All right, 2 things to give. Don't ask them to get married to you. Okay, don't ask them to get married. Or don't ask them out on a date. But what you're going to ask them is, you're asking them for guidance. You're not asking them for a job. You're asking them for information that will help you get a job. So you ask them about, so what should I do? How did you go about doing it? Ask them to tell their story. How many of you don't like to talk about yourself? How many of you like to talk about yourself? Right? Ask them their story. Ask them what did they do to become successful. Tell them they are successful. Feel good. Okay? Ask them what they did to be successful. Get their guidance and ask them how you can be successful. What would they recommend you should do? 3 or 4 questions, that's all it is. 1 question, tell me what you did to be successful. It can take 2 hours. Okay? So don't worry about that. So 4 or 5 very basic questions. And be intuitive and be willing to ask questions as the conversation goes along. I think my time's coming to an end. Sanjay is here, that means he's telling me to leave. So, any more questions before I do my conclusion? I want to end with the poetry that I read when I was in high school, and this is how it goes. It's called Think. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you will lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find, success begins with the fellow's will. It's all the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man. But sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience.